My name is Marissa Goober, and I've worked with ABC for about 4 years, coming up to 4 years. And I've worked in a lot of different roles, and right now I'm helping to manage the first floor. And I'm also working in cultural and organizational development, so looking at how we can bring the mission of ABC, which is kind of the backbone of the company, into more of an operational reality. There's a lot of education with the sales team, so in communicating the stories that we were talking about. So when the artisans, that it's not enough that the product is beautiful, it's also really important that we communicate what the product embodies. So we do a lot of education with the sales teams and make sure that they can really be specialists in the products and also in larger kind of projects that we're working on. So today we did a tour with Aid to Artisans, and we were giving the artisans a little bit of the history of ABC, where it's come from and how it's grown into what it is today. We've also looked at a lot of the product and examples of collectives that we work with regularly, and we love working with Aid to Artisans, so it's a really great privilege to have the artisans come and visit us here. One of the things that really keeps our customers coming back to ABC again and again is that it has such a rich cultural texture that people can feel like they're walking around the store and almost walking around an atlas where they're learning about different parts of the world. And something that's very important to our founder and CEO and creative director, Paulette Cole, is that the products that we have in the store really celebrate the understanding of indigenous design, and that throughout the world there are these amazing cultural handcrafts that are actually dying out because there's not really a preservation of the culture. So that we love working with collectives that really are working to keep those traditions alive. And so what that means is that we have, our store isn't just one color palette. It's a really rich, showing kind of the entire collection of different international indigenous design works that you can bring into your home. And we also love to show product that is more traditional in its art form, but that can be incorporated to even very contemporary aesthetics in homes. So you can have a very sleek, modern line with a really great, hand-embroidered pillow that just works with the colors. And I think that the kind of artisan vendor store relationship can feel so spread out, and the fact that Aid to Artisans brings the artisans to the sites where product is sold means that they can see the context for how it's presented, how it's merchandised, what the space is that they're actually merchandising it in, and then to be able to see how our operations work in terms of how things are received. Then they can have a better understanding of why, when we're making certain requests, why we might need that. So for instance, having things packed a certain way so that it can be unpacked in a very methodical manner means that our organization can be much more thorough and efficient in making sure that it gets out to the floor and sold as soon as possible. Well, we actually have a gift of compassion with Aid to Artisans. I don't know if you know about our foundation, but we have ABC Home and Planet Foundation actually has a gift of compassion where a customer can make a contribution to Aid to Artisans to help preserve and understand indigenous design, and that a lot of that is working with artisans. And the artisans, I think, with what's so amazing about what Aid to Artisans does is it creates that bridge between amazing crafts and the world in which they can be a part. But it needs that bridge. So I think Aid to Artisans is doing an amazing job in fulfilling that role. Absolutely. I think that when people start appreciating human creativity, And that's really what the Artisans are tapping into, is that amazing amount of human creativity. And I think that if we as retailers can communicate that and help other people get to know that and experience it within their homes, that it's almost contagious. That if you see an amazingly beautiful textile at your friend's house and they talk about how amazing it is that they got to hear about the artisans that were making it, that it makes it so much more alive and available for someone to actually want to do that in their own homes too. We also at ABC talk a lot about how your home is really your mirror. Your home is a canvas for self-expression, and so many of these beautiful textiles are so amazing when they can kind of interweave with what you have in your home. So we're very passionate about helping people do that in a way that's individual, that is unique. Your home shouldn't look like your neighbor's, and that's why we work so much with artisans who may not make 100 or 1,000 of one thing. They may make just one, and how we can incorporate that into our homes is an art. Yep, this collection is actually all from Turkey. So someone may travel to Turkey and be able to see these in a market, but to be able to see them here, and we display it in a way that people can really see the beauty of the piece. So that's why the visual merchandising is so important here. And we really love showing the mixture between the antique or the vintage and the new. And seeing that fusion means that you can really celebrate the different timeline of beauty, and that something that might be more traditional can actually fit into a very contemporary home.
The green or the sustainable story, supposed to, in addition to the story of the artisan.
Yeah. For ABC, the sustainable story is very important because for ABC, well, some of ABC's customers, and I think that it's an added value aspect of a product. I don't think it's the only thing that people look for. But for instance, we can talk about vintage and recycled, and have that story of it being not material that was thrown away, that it's something that was being reclaimed. One of the things we really like to have is we have signage all over the store. And this tells about the organization that is making this particular product. And we also have an icon system, which I'm sure we'll see a couple elements of, which is a visual representation of what this product embodies. This one doesn't have it, it's just the text, but it speaks to what are the values that this product embodies. It's indigenous design, it's supporting a collective of about 450 women in South Africa, and it's beautiful, and it also empowers this community beyond financially. It's also supporting a clinic that works with AIDS, HIV. So it's sustainable income and has social benefit. This is really beautiful too. These are all handmade in Latvia. They're beautiful. So these are all hand woven from linen in Latvia, and it's paired with, this is all made in Paris. So it's fusing that aesthetic, and it looks very beautiful on the table. This is another representation of work that we do with an artisan collective. And you can see here we have signage as well, and it's showcasing the women painting the ceramics. And this is a line that's exclusive to ABC. You won't see this anywhere else. So sometimes when we work with vendors, we really try to have something that's special for both of us. So this mezzanine section is actually ever-changing. It's been home to a lot of different shops. We had Donna Karen's Urban Zen here for a few months.
Часть магазина, она называется мезонин.
And right
Она
now we
постоянно
have
меняется.
it's
У нас
really
здесь
like
постоянно была
a very
Донна Каран, раньше
tactile
ее линия, а
museum
сейчас
of textile.
это, в общем-то, музей, своего рода музей текстиля, если угодно.
We have everything from Cuba
У нас есть
cloths,
все. Это Куба, ткань Куба,
from Democratic Republic of Congo,
которая из Демократической Республики Конго привезена.
to all of these
И
amazing
у нас
Turkish
есть замечательные
textiles.
турецкий текстиль.
We have these are embroidery from Guatemala.
Вышивка из Гватемалы.
And we really like bringing together all of the textures in
И
a
мы
way
хотим, здесь еще очень как выставлен товар,
that is
здесь игра
harmonious,
на
and that's a
текстуре,
celebration of different cultural
гармония и
artisans.
празднование различных культур и многих ремесленников.
You can also see we have a lot of the deities,
Также у нас очень много выставлено статуй богов.
which is celebrating different artistic and spiritual
И
traditions around the
опять-таки это для
world.
того, чтобы отметить различные духовные и религиозные традиции по всему миру.
And this is always changing as well.
И
And
это тоже всегда меняется.
yeah, it's very inspiring to come and see all the textures.
И очень интересно всегда прийти, всю текстуру различную.
We also have in this other space, we're welcome to go in there if
И
you'd like.
если хотите, мы сейчас пройдем вот в то помещение.
This is the Moroso Mafrique collection,
Это коллекция, которая называется Moroso Mafrique.
and it is a partnership between European designers and
Это
Senegalese
партнерство,
weavers.
между европейскими дизайнерами и теми, кто занимается плетением в Сенегале, как это назвать,
And they're bringing the traditional craft of weaving into a very contemporary lines of furniture. And though different stores might have one or two pieces, we have the whole collection here. We skipped the furniture floors just because this one has a lot of the beautiful textures. So you can see here we have a lot of the woodblock printing. You'll see that throughout a lot of the floor. In the third floor, we also focus a lot in organic, so organic materials, and that's something that we work with a lot of vendors to source, because sometimes organic isn't necessarily the easiest, most easily available. But we really try and limit the toxic exposure, not only for the people who are working with the materials, but also for the consumers. We have a good thread initiative that focuses on the spectrum. So using organic cotton is very good, but you also don't want to use formaldehyde in the finishing and that sort of thing. So the idea is that you start with, using organic products and then hopefully work towards becoming more and more safe with your processing. So over here you'll see a lot of the signage, which I think is important for you to see. So it has those icons that we were talking about.
Oh, did I miss the icon on top?
We spoke briefly about the icons. Yeah, we want.
Explain what they are?
Yeah, definitely. So the icons. I wish I had a sign with all of them. We used to have.
The elevator door.
Yes, on the second floor, I think. But this one, the icons are visual representations of values that are important to the ABC family. So, for instance, this sign. So this is all organic cotton sheeting. And so there's, it's also all hand embroidered, and this one shows that it's handmade, indigenous, community-made, good thread, meaning that it's organic, and got standard by this, which is a very high level of certification, as well as fair and square, so that the people that are actually creating the product are being paid fairly, exactly. And so with bedding specifically, we talk a lot about that when you're creating a sleep environment, that this is something that's really important, that you're having product that's not toxic to in the time when you're supposed to be repairing and rejuvenating after a long and stressful day. This is a really beautiful line that's Rakshabella, and it's all hand block printed. And they work with artisans in India, where all of the wood blocks are hand carved and hand stamped and using low impact dyes, organic cotton. And then we tell the stories of those people as well as have the pictures.
The predominant, majority of the goods here is from India and Turkey, or like from different other countries?
All over the place, all over.
Do you have any like with natural dyes? You know, any?
We do actually. We have, yeah, these are actually vegetable dye hand block. And then we also have curtain panels that are all vegetable dyes as well. This is all handmade in Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah, and it's all low impact dyes. And you know what's beautiful about these? Every piece has writing on it that says when it was made and the initials of the person who made it.
So once the merchandise is received into this building, it comes through me and before it goes to the floor. So once we receive, we pull the merchandise, what we need for the floor, and the rest need to go for the back stock. And daily basis, the guys there to do a replenishing and put merchandise on the floor. So I control the old stock and the inventory. So once we receive all this merchandise, it has to go through me. Robin, when they receives on the 5th floor, once they receive, everything comes to me. So we take it and we give it to the visual. So visual puts some merchandise on the floor. And we keep the rest of the back stocks in the stock rooms. So we have like 3 or 4 stock rooms. And we have stock rooms on 3rd floor with the linen fabrics. And the tabletops and the blankets and sheets, those all stays on 3. But the tabletops, we have it in the basement. We have 3 stock rooms. And usually we receive merchandise from different vendors from different countries. And basically we let them know if they have any question how to get packed. And we ask them, we could give all kind of info. That goes through the buyers. They can get the infos through the buyers. So the buyers can give you all kind of details and how it gets shipped. And in case if they want any kind of question, they need to be. And literally, we have no control of buying stuff from any country. That we buy it from all countries. So we don't control, we don't say, we don't buy from you guys, we don't do that. So we buy it from all over because we believe in country, we try to help the countries. We promote the products. And basically we get it from helping Africa. So right now we do it like monkey beads. I think probably you guys would have seen on the main floor. So we help people from this, from the different countries and promoting the products. And most of the money we go for the charity, so which we work on. So see, basically we took people to show the knowledge how we get shipped and how we receive the merchandise and how we tag it and what kind of product has to be wrapped in the way we need to be wrapped. And people who have they have some questions, what kind of product they can be put it in, because some countries they won't be available to get stuff. So we give them, they can use newspapers, and you can take a regular newspaper that's available in any country. So but some country they won't be available, like peanuts, popcorns, a bubble wrap. So usually we tell them you can use any scrap papers to utilize as a package, so you can crush them and just vacuum the area surrounding the boxes, but make sure the merchandise should be in the middle of the box. It's at least 5 inches above this side and that side. It should totally need to vacuum. So you should vacuum the box on the bottom and put the merchandise in between, and you pack the boxes on the sides and the top before you ship it. And if you have a linen product, particularly you need to be plastic wrapped, because the way you ship it, you never know. The boxes could get wet and it gets penetrated through, the water can penetrate through the fabric. Once it penetrates, it's no use for it to sell that merchandise. So it's better for the people ship it, how they need to ship it. So we tell them just pack them in the plastic. I mean, plastic could be any kind of plastic, but we try to help the people to use recycling fabric so we can recycle the plastics. But it depends on some countries it won't be available. So any kind of plastic can be done for using any kind of linen product. But like a ceramic and the wooden bowls, we tell them to use like a bubble wrap or like a peanuts, or use a lot of newspaper. And you shouldn't pack the box too heavy. shouldn't put too much of merchandise, especially packing ceramic, because ceramic is very fragile. So you're better off packing like maybe 4, at the maybe 6. I mean, depending on how big the box is. You shouldn't make the box too big, and you shouldn't put too many pieces into the box. It can get damaged. So we are open people. We like to help people around, and we help people who has no knowledge about it, because they're coming into the new world, starting their own business. They want to import it. But we are here to help those people and show them the easy way, an easy process before they start shipping to the countries, or shipping to the stores. And by the time they know, they receive, then later they will say a lot of damages. They don't know how the things were shipped, because they might be good in making product, they don't know how to ship the product. But we're here to help those people. So we like to give the more knowledge before they get into this kind of business and how they should be done. Because some people are flexible, some people not flexible as a retail places. So we try to help them out. See, because we believe in helping people around, because we are here to cause us, not that we work for a year and just make the money and we don't want to say it to people, but we are as a team, as a country, as a store, we help people to give them knowledge, and people make them feel at home. And we like new people coming in, and even if these people might come with a product, and we will love to buy them if it's really interesting. So they have to go through the buyers, and we are here totally as the ABC is from a different country product. It's not like we sell only in New York. People made it here. We buy it from all over the places. So we have to give more knowledge for the people to come and feel free. As the people, we can buy things from them. So it's privilege and knowledge what we have, and we love to share it with them. ABC, we more like it was an antique. We buy it from all over the country. We have any kind of thing that you name it, you can find it in ABC. Any kind of furniture, anywhere in the world, we have it here. And it's not only furniture, we have tabletops, all the dishes that come from Italy, and we have from France and we have from Barcelona, from India, and we have from Nepal, and from Pakistan. So there's no country limits we have as the furnitures, and even the product that we sell in this country. So we buy even from Morocco and Egypt, Israel. So we buy from all over the places, and the product we get is unbelievable, and you can find everything under one roof, walking in, and you find all over the country product that you can find. That's what the ABC stands for. ABC stands as it's nothing that possible that you can't find it in ABC. All right, this is Robin. He's the linen receiving supervisor. So if you guys have any kind of question about receiving merchandise, you can talk to them. So basically, we have some linen stuff that we've been received.
Just pillows.
What we do is the barcodes, the SKUs created by most of the vendors. Where's the field?
How would you like to receive that?
Come again?
Or actually, do you ask your suppliers to receive, to pack your goods in a certain
Right,
style,
yeah,
certain packing, certain...
Basically, we do most of the recycling products. We use it to do it.
Recycled packing material.
Packing material. You can use the newspapers.
And the vendors know how to pack their merchandise, shipping it stores.
Ship them. If you have any kind of question, we could give it to you. We could send you the infos, what kind of product you can be available in your country. Because sometimes people won't have foam packing, they won't have thermo packing.
Yeah.
So people could give it to us what they have, so we could ask them to do it, because we try to work on the recycling products. So we don't want to use it.
Okay, for the linens, I think it's not a problem. What about
The ceramic stuff?
something that's like
I have a, let me show you an instance here from
Just open it.
one that came
And for
from
the
France.
furniture, we have
Okay.
next floor.
And the vendor shipped it in bubble wrap, but they didn't pack it too properly. So, yeah, you see all it? It's like $5,000–6,000 in damage. from the vendor to us. So the vendor lose.
Yeah.
Now they and UPS is fighting back.
Yeah. Who's paying?
Who break it and who, how they ship it. But they pack too much thing in one box. This box is sturdy though. It's sturdy, but they pack too much thing on a little bubble wrap only. So that's why all these things been
So
broken.
you don't mind being overwrapped, but it's
You better to be overwrapped and
Yeah.
put a little popcorn, inside. And it's get it sturdy. But we pack so many things inside.
What would you suggest, that we wrap it good with bubbles and then stuff it with
Yeah,
newspapers?
you see, this thing is hollow. This mortar is hollow, right? So when you keep rolling around, you see break. This is like $300-400 for one. This
Okay.
$300-400 for this. So now they're claiming back from UPS. They want their money, and UPS come and check it and say you didn't wrap it properly.
So they won't get.
Well, that's between them and UPS. Now I know what's going on.
Maybe also because they did not insure the.
Well, it's
Most
insured.
times
Yeah.
they insure it. All foreign stuff they
Yeah.
insure.
Really?
But what
Yeah.
he's saying is, if it's their fault, they have
Right,
they
yeah.
have to
If
dig it
it's
out.
insured?
Yeah, but the wrapping and packing of it, that's a different thing. Insure mean that something they lost and get lost and this and that.
Okay.
But like wrapping and this and that is different.
Okay. Insurance is not on package, on the wasted.
No.
And this area is just for ceramics and materials.
All linens thing, all linens.
And
Yeah.
then you have another things. And
All linen merchandise.
It's only for 2 products. And then you have other thing for furniture. For
No, we have furniture on 4, all the rest are for homes.
Yeah.
In the whole store is here.
And then you, like I said, and then you send it to the
Different
different
floors,
areas.
different
and
floors.
Yeah, so it's just furniture that comes in
Yes,
on 4.
down.
And how
And everything else
do you
is
send it to
stored
other
in there.
ABC stores?
Some people do transfer some merchandise
But
if
you
they have
unpack it
sales.
here. You
Yeah.
unpack it here. What about shipping from here to
We
the
have
other
our
store?
own shipping department too.
Okay. And do you pack it also as
We
it
pack it the
as
way we
it's
should
been
be
shipped?
packed.
Oh, okay.
That's the way we do it.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about the labeling requirements? So you bring
Yeah.
a supplier on. How does that work? Do you provide them with the
Okay, the
label?
buyers
And you
and
guys, come here. This is important for everybody to get this information. So the question was, how when they bring on a new supplier, what their requirements are for labeling, what they provide for the artisans, and what they expect them to do on their own. How that works.
the buyers and the vendors communicate. Like if they go, when most of the time the buyers go to a different company, different country, they see this merchandise, they want to buy it. They code the prices and whatever they do, and now they have all these things. So the buyer and the vendor create this thing here. This packing slip, I have the packing slip over there, and the receiver. Yeah. See now, we do order all these things here, but the vendor only sent this. See, the package that were invoice only says this. 20 on one piece and 4 on one piece.
Okay.
So what we do now, we do receive the 20 and the 4 pieces only. Then we go back the shipment, next shipment with the rest of the merchandise. So sometimes we do receive like 5 times from this vendor to complete the whole order.
Okay, so you
If they
have
don't
one
have
invoice,
everything.
but it might come in multiple shipments.
Right, because they don't have everything in stock.
How about in terms of how you want the product itself labeled?
Okay, like that
Like
pillow?
this, yeah.
Okay, I'll show you.
It doesn't have any head tag.
I will show it. It comes with, you see, it comes with this thing here. You see, this is the number that we recognize. What
SQ.
Is that the
SKU
SKU?
goes on it. So we do take out this tag
Мы берем вот эту вот
that the vendor ship.
You take it off?
We take it out.
take them
мы
off.
снимаем.
And we take one of our tickets,
И мы нашу собственную берем.
and we do put a second ticket inside in case
Вторую
it get lost.
этикетку кладем внутрь, если первая
And we do put a sensor too.
И мы также
Sometimes some
сенсорную
customer come and just put it in a bag and walk out.
Бывает так, что у нас
We have a
клиенты
sensor that it
приходят,
beeps on the front door.
You have to put a sensor in every
И
pillow.
мы сенсор кладем в каждую.
95% of our
95%
stuff.
we do it.
95%.
Because
кладем
a lot of
сенсор,
theft
потому что
happen,
иначе
so we
очень
just do
много
that.
воровства.
And especially coming through the holidays.
So we just shut it back and then we just gun it.
тут вот.
Why do you remove the hang tag?
А почему вы снимаете
What,
эту
this?
этикетку?
Yeah.
It's more as
Oh,
a
that's, we don't need that. We don't want to
Это
show
as
everybody.
long as we don't want to give it the vendors tags, we just use our own tags.
Do you do that for all of everybody? Like even like
Yeah.
so every single product, even if they're a name brand.
Yeah, we take it.
Name brand, yeah, we don't. But like, there's something they have name brand like
But if
this.
you
we
get
leave
like,
it.
for John Ross shop, for instance,
John Robshaw is the
you take
same.
off his tag.
Yeah, but John
But
Robshaw,
now
what
John
they do
Robson
is
is a lease company for
this
us.
company we do it, but they have their own logo
них
on
есть
it
свой
with the
собственный
John Robshaw.
логотип.
So we don't turn the product, we don't test that.
But the hand tag
Yeah,
comes
only
off.
the hand
Но
tags.
была висящая этикетка тоже, потому что мы можем различить это.
And then the other,
What? Like on the floor?
you display.
At this point, most time we do the 6.
Okay.
If we have a lot of room, we can do 6 or maybe 3, 4, depends. And the rest back stock. It goes in the stock room.
See, it's because
When it sells,
we're gonna introduce the visual. That's why the visual comes into the scene. Because we don't want it to look like a regular merchandise, like you're walking into like a Walmart or like
I don't think anyone's gonna think
we don't
we're
like to
walking
be
into
stacked.
Walmart.
Yeah.
It need to be look good. So we just put like one of each or two of each. So the less is more, you can see it better. But when it's stacked up high, you don't even know the value of this product.
So what happens when you receive a shipment from a supplier that wasn't packed properly? Who pays for that? Who picks up the tab for that?
Well, we do receive it. Like we said, we receive it. Talk to the buyers that all these things are damaged. She comes, she took pictures, maybe email the pictures to the vendor. The vendor say, okay, throw it away or keep it and ship it back or whatever.
So it's the vendor's responsibility to rectify
The
that?
vendors and UPS, they will fight the UPS now for.
It depends on how they packed it.
Компания,
So the
они
question now, the
несут
UPS is going to
ответственность.
stand and say, you know what, you guys packed it wrong.
Ну вот UPS теперь
So we
будет
can-
выяснять отношения с поставщиком.
so that's-
Говорит, ребята, вы неправильно упаковали, что вы от нас хотите.
Yeah, we do. We do. We take pictures, we email it to the vendors. So they will say, you know what, this is not the way we shipped it. So we got to find out from UPS who did it. So the most of the things they come through UPS, or they use bubble wrap, or they can use newspapers to vacuum it first. Then you can just put a bubble wrap on top, so it won't get damaged.
How many shipments, how many do you receive on a, how many boxes do you get a day?
Каждый день
Sometimes 10, sometimes 50.
10, иногда 50.
Sometimes
You never
200.
know.
Иногда
Because in the holiday time, it gets getting.
And like Christmas time coming up now, it'll be crazy here from now on.
all the Christmas ornaments. Yeah.
Да, это в
Now we start to receive the merchandise and tagging it and keep it, you know.
We already started receiving Christmas
Yeah.
merchandise.
We do have some
Started
Christmas
from June.
merchandise here already.
У нас уже
See those boxes on top there? We have
It's
some
all
Christmas
Christmas
merchandise.
stuff.
это рождественский
And what's the
коробка.
biggest consistent, what's the big no-no, what's the biggest consistent issue you see with
Самый большой
boxes that you're receiving in? Like what's, if they're working in textiles and they're working in wood and they're working in ceramics, which are the mediums that are represented here, what are the definitely don't do's for these guys?
See, if you're doing a ceramic
And glass.
glass, you got to be very, very careful. Especially if you have a bowl, a glass bowl, or like ceramic bowl.
Glass here.
So make sure you vacuum it first, inside. Inside. You got to put a lot of newspaper.
Do I have to list it?
Yeah,
Inside?
Inside. When you put it inside, it gets more compressed, it gets more heavier, so it gets stronger. Then you're putting any glass thing or like any ceramic, it has to be in the middle of the box, not in the side of the box. So you need to vacuum it around the box. You can use newspapers, you can crush them, regular
Yeah, you can
newspapers
move
that
around.
may be easy, so you can easily available. Or you can use peanuts or popcorns. You know the small popcorns that come with padded one.
We keep saying peanuts and they don't,
Oh, okay.
not everybody.
I have it in the receiving when we go out to furniture. I'm going to show you guys. They come in two kinds. One can throw it away. One they can dissolve in the water. So you can throw it in the sink and they can get dissolved. But those are expensive foam. But we use that very often because most of the apartment people cannot afford to throw them back. So instead they can recycle it. So they can wash it off into the sink. So they don't need to make a trash outside. So I'm going to show you those peanuts. But most of they can do that, or you can use a bubble wrap.
Также
Do you have any bubble wrap?
с пузырями, но это
Yeah, that's a
понимается.
Say this.
Вот это вот, например,
So this is the bubble wrap. So this is badly wrapped. If you send a package like this, trust me, it's gonna go to the garbage. So this is for an example to show you, this is not the way to pack it. It totally need to be. This one actually be with more bubble, so even if it falls down, you shouldn't need any flow. You need to feel the bubble, like a package, not this way. This is the wrong way to pack it. Textile is not a won't be a problem, but make sure, but it should be in a plastic. Because you never know. It could be, you were sending through UPS, the UPS container, truck will come and stop outside. By the time they bring the box in, it'll be soaked in. But once it gets through, it'll penetrate through the fabric. Once it penetrates, that's it. It's a garbage. We don't ship it back to them. We do a recycling here. So we have a recycling container. We work on the recycling thing. So we throw them into the recycling. So it goes to the New York State recycling. So this is how you do it. This is all packing. So this is all, it's kind of like vacuuming it, so they use regular newspapers.
То есть можно использовать обычную газету.
So there's nothing actually.
И здесь ничего хитрого.
So you just crush them, so you pack them nicely.
People use the newspaper also when you pack textiles.
И даже текстиль.
But you don't need for textiles. Textile you don't need it. No. All you need is a plastic bag.
Unless you like a 3/4 box of textiles, you want to put something inside, you can do that if you want. If you have 3/4 box,
say like this.
It's not a full box.
So if you have a textile this much,
otherwise I
put
can't
something
keep up
keep
with
it
you
up.
guys. Okay, господа, пожалуйста, по одному. Вопрос в том, что только если в текстиле, если коробка не полная, то тогда что-то нужно доложить, чтобы коробка была заполнена.
So if you have a question like this, if you have a textile this much, you can't pack the box. You know what's going to happen when you pack the box? It's going to sink through and it's going to get damaged. So by the time we receive, so you can pack them with the newspaper. You can pack them. See, this is only half of the box. So they used all this just for the packing.
То есть вот точно так же здесь половина коробки, они сверху доложили вот эти вещи, чтобы коробка была заполнена.
This is how you do it.
И вот вся
put the machine right in the middle,
surrounded в середине,
with all packing.
На слое
so machine is only here.
карточей обложенный, и все это только газета, никакого здесь технологического материала нет, но в результате есть подушка воздушная, и повредить очень трудно.
Сверху сколько нужно вот это? Вот 5 сантиметров, как вы говорили.
So you're doing about 2 inches on top, just around the merchandise.
Yeah, around 2 inches.
Да, около 2 дюймов, это 5 сантиметров. Вот, пожалуйста, пришивайте фигуру.
This is like a chime.
То есть это здесь висит.
See, this is made of stone.
Это сделано из камня.
See, the wrapped it individually.
То есть они каждый камушек завернули индивидуально, потому что это камень, и он звенит.
So they don't want to get tangled, so they used regular paper. You could bounty paper towel, they rolled it each individually. Then they wrap all this together. So there's no way they can get damaged. Because if they live this way, it might get tangled, or maybe it'll break. It'll get chipped. Once it gets chipped, it's garbage. You can't sell it.
Они могут поцарапаться, как только происходит царапина или что-то откалывается, это уже...
Okay, so this is where we receive all the furniture and all the chandeliers. So that's what the linen up on the floor. Luca. Where's Luca? Luca, Jimmy.
Come here.
All right. So Luca and Jimmy. This is Jimmy. That's Luca. And who handles all the chandeliers when they receive? If you guys have any kind of question on chandeliers, how it's been received. This has come from directly from Italy. It's total Venetian. They come boxed. Everything is individual pieces. They all put together. They got so used to it.
We have we have a diagram, but we don't really use the manual right now because we already know exactly how to assemble.
Usually, yeah, they come with the manual. Yes.
With the picture also. Yeah.
When it goes to the floor, does it need to be fully functioning?
Yeah. Yeah. So you check everything. They put the bulbs, all the wires.
Before it goes onto the floor, we build it, we inspect it, and we make sure it's up to code, U.S. standard. and then it'll go onto the floor.
They have these kind of peanuts too. So they use these ones. So because some country they get it, some they don't. So it depends. You guys want to use it.
Are they the recycled? Are they the dissolvable ones, or?
Some of them we have, but we don't have right now the recycling one. Where they come in a different. Yeah, no. Because the recycling ones are a little expensive. That's for sure. But like depend on people can get it.
Now, are all of the chandeliers from Italy, or do they come from other countries?
It comes from other countries, but right now that we have this come from Italy. But it comes from everywhere. Even from Morocco, we used to get it. Turkey, we get it. Yeah, from India, from all over the country. Yeah. All right. So this is most of the things. So like these ones, it's all handmade. Some of the ceramics with the mirror. Some of them received come a little damaged or chipped. We don't send it back. We fix it here. As long as that piece is there, even if the piece is not there, Teal is the one will find something similar close to it. He'll fix it, not by throwing it back or giving back to the vendor. We fix them.
Yeah, because it's much more cheaper than we
sending it back because it comes from different countries. Right. So it's not worth sending it back for a small chip. So we fix it up here. So all this kind of statues behind you, this was damaged. Maybe the arm was broken, the finger was broken. Other ones, yeah.
I have over here.
Bring some of the damaged ones. That you
To what extent you fixed it?
We go to the unlimited stuff. Trust me, he can create the arm. He can create the piece.
This one, it's broken finger.
Broken finger.
And I make.
You made a new finger.
You made him a new.
Good.
Yeah, you see this one, and I will make another one.
He's making another one.
Good for you.
But this one was totally broken. He fixed it.
And sometimes broken head,
and this
leg.
One over here. So this all is important. This one got chipped. 1 year, 1 year, and he fixed it back. This is all 3 pieces, broken 3 pieces.
Oh, we have to. If we spend more time, we have to charge it.
On the price, on the total price.
The price,
total price,
yes.
You put the price.
But
you said as
before
a higher price.
Higher, yes.
No. That we don't do that higher price. The thing is, when you receive a merchandise, we talk to the vendor.
Because he said, I don't like damage like that. And that time
but if it breaks up here, we don't. We fix them and put it back on the floor. We don't increase the price on that.
And when you put it in the store, do you tell people that was fixed?
No, because they will know this is noticeable.
And they will take it on a less price.
Yeah, less price. And then they will mark it down for 20%. Because we can't throw them out.
Good job, sir. Actually, it's a very good job here.
Right.
Yeah.
No, have a lot of damage.
I even didn't notice it.
Some people notice, some people don't. But he can fix it and he can create it.
Well, sometimes I'm repair like new one. Can see. Now believe me.
Yeah,
one day I'm repair something and customer look it and he don't believe it. He said, where has been before? Where has been before? I said, somewhere. That's for me is big rating, right?
Yeah.
Start it simply. What is your job? What is the men's advisor's job?
Well, basically to get the product to the floor and any stories that they envision telling to be able to communicate that in terms of mission-driven products and also in terms of just aesthetics and beauty. So there, sometimes there are stories that actually don't even relate to the product or just simply beauty, but have bigger stories, like water being depleted on the planet, or so there are a lot of different angles that we come from. But basically our job is to have all of those different contexts as sort of an infrastructure, and then receive the product comes into receiving, and we they alert us and we bring it to the floor. And we, like often, because if it's anything that's new, that's not just a simple replenishment, we usually have to like rework a story. And a lot of the times we have like one-of-a-kind fixtures, like they're you know, antiques or like artist made, and it's like a one-piece thing. And often that's like the center of a vignette. And so if that sells, you have to rework the entire thing. And often that not only means the pieces, like getting a fresh piece to replace it with, but like reworking what products go with what products so that the stories can be cohesive.
Okay. So which is which? The story first or the product? Are you looking for the story?
It's really a marriage, yeah. Okay. It's really a marriage of the two. So, but we definitely try and like the art department goes to great lengths to create signage that really like honors the artists and artisans that like create.
Yeah, we saw a few.
Stuff.
We saw a few.
So, you know, trying to, you know, that's also another thing to keep in mind. Like you want to also make things look like really abundant and plentiful, and at the same time easy to shop, and at the same time like educating, because they like to think of the shop as a sort of like a museum of things from, you know, not just from around the world, but also from around the world, but like local artists, people that are basically like keyed in and plugged in to like, you know, what's important in the world right now.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. How important do you think the merchandising is in terms of how well the product moves?
It's unbelievably important. And we meet with buyers like once a week, but sometimes it's an emergency and we have to do it more than once a week, because definitely as soon as you place a product, you can literally, like if you're looking at the numbers, watch them change.
Really?
So,
what are some no-nos? What are some absolute things you've tried and haven't worked?
Well, really big no-nos is having like the, you know, really high price point things that like people wouldn't automatically understand why they were expensive until they understand and investigate like the story of that. Those should never be like on front tables, for example, because then customers will walk in and they'll pick up the first thing and they'll be like, $300 for the, you know, la la la.
Okay.
They don't understand like, you know, the sort of history of that piece, so they're just having that initial impulse. So you have to like make it, you know, like the impact when you first come into the store be really like beautiful and seductive, but at the same time like accessible price points and also shoppable. So you have to make sure that even though you make something that is like a very opulent presentation, that there's a sort of no-brainer, easy access way to like, you know, just yeah, like to take like, so if you do like a beautiful like banquet table and it's sort of overflowing, make sure and like right near it is like a piece that contains like, you know, 6 of each of the things that are on the table, so it's easy for people to be like, oh, I like that, I'm gonna get it from over here. So there's like a lot of practical things that you have to keep in mind, but then a lot of it is also just like creating like a beautiful sculpture, so with using those products as the elements.
Which is easier to work with, the sets, which is set of 3, sets of 5, or a one big piece, or how can you put all this together? Yeah.
I don't really understand.
Okay, is it easier to have a collection together or only one piece? Which is much easier to put it on the floor? The merchandise? Yeah.
Well, we generally try and keep the collections together, for sure.
But it's like always going to be a collection.
Yeah, we try it because it's like another way of like honoring the artist that created it or the designer that created it. So yeah, we definitely keep things in collections, and but you know, if there's something in that collection that we really love, sometimes we pull it out of that and then just use it as, you know, like a hit from someplace to like romance another. So a lot of times we do that on furniture floors too. Like we'll pull from our favorite collections downstairs and then use them to like sort of express a lifestyle that we believe in on other floors and to like sort of complete the scene or like.
You talked a little bit about the story of the product. How important is that in the display? How do you use that to pull buyers in? The story of the product, the story of the groups that you're working with. How do you find the shoppers find? How important is that to the shoppers, and how does it help in pulling the shoppers in?
I think it's really important because I think that what people see when they see it. Like all the displays, we try and keep keep them very clear so that there's not any run-on sentences, and there's like sort of definitely an atmosphere around each vignette. So I think people will like gravitate to a vignette and identify with it and say like, oh, that's like who I like. Out of all these different, you know, people, this is the one that I would be, and then they notice then the individual things that are in that vignette. So I think it definitely helps to like steer people to the things that they're interested in, because it's like you know, when you're standing in a room full of people at a party, how do you decide like who is like the person that you're going to talk to, you know? You know, like you sort of look around and you're like, oh, she looks really nice.
Yeah, the kind eyes.
You know, like she's the one I would be friends with. So it's kind of like that when people are shopping. I think that they see like the area where they think, oh, that's one that I relate to, and then they go there, and then you try and keep everything in within that vignette, you know, relating to that overall aesthetic and vibe. So.
Are there any kind of general merchandising rules in terms of a buyer being more likely to buy something if they pick it up or stop in front of it? Do you know those general?
Well, definitely being able to touch something makes people, that is like, you know, the absolute like most basic thing.
So
you know, like
so trying to avoid putting partitions between your product and the buyer?
Definitely. You know, like I think there's like even a statistic about it, like that people are like 80%, people are 80% more likely to buy something if they actually touch it. So you want to make the things feel very accessible, you know. I think in terms of just like general display, like you want to make sure that like every vignette has like, you know, cohesive color story, and then like, you know, like sort of varying heights with like smaller things in the front so that things have like a
triangle effect?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like a literal triangle, like it can be like a landscape, but you want to make sure, I mean, it's in a way it's just like mimicking nature. So, you know, you want to have, that's what pleases the eye, because, and makes you relate to things, is if they mimic nature. But of course it's in this very like stylized, like you know, contemporary culture sort of way.
Yeah.
Nature.
Good luck, actually. You're doing a hell of a job. Good luck.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
No, actually, no. Thank you.
The easiest is definitely doing the windows, because you don't have to think about any of the
things about touching and
yeah, it's like you can, it's almost like just doing a painting, and you can do it. And a lot of times for like trade shows and stuff, people can create that by having like shadow boxes. I'm just thinking for you guys, because you know, like representing people at trade shows. Yeah. Like it's nice to, you know, you can make like shallow, just like having like a shadow box, like to have that effect of doing things so that it feels more like a painting, and you can really, yeah, it makes it.
Good idea.
You know, it's easy to read all the different pieces that way, and they get more sort of highlighted, and like rather than if it's just like a big mishmash of things. And you know, it's a way to create separation and create a sort of clean